Hello and welcome to Love and Skulls Tarot, your 3-card randomized tarot channel. In the format that we're starting with, I do 2 3-card readings a week with the same deck and 1 flip through. We're starting with the Rider-Waite Colman Smith because it's my first deck. This deck is from 1988. It is very old. It is the original. And you can see the box is literally crumbling. I even have, the top of the box is gone, but I've even got the LWB little white book and the cover cards for it. But it is torn up and it now lives inside of a pouch. I don't use it that often because this deck is pretty precious to me. So let's commence. Originally called the Rider Tarot or the Rider-Waite Tarot, it's now commonly referred to as the Rider-Waite Colman Smith Tarot. Rebecca Colman Smith is the artist who was an artist in her own right outside of this deck and worked as a set designer at the time. She is the person that Arthur Waite commissioned to do this deck. It's now believed that a lot of the symbology on the deck, especially the pip cards, the cups, pentacles, swords, and wands, was left up to Rebecca Colman Smith so that she had much more input in this deck than anyone originally thought. If you want to read more about it, Stuart Kaplan from US Games wrote a book and did a commemorative deck about Rebecca Colman Smith. It really cannot be overestimated how important this tarot deck is. It is the modern model for tarot decks. It was originally published in the early 1900s and was much copied by other people and has come to us today as the most influential deck in the world, in the modern world of tarot. The only decks I think that are more important are the old Italian decks that created tarot, the old Tarocchi Triumphs games. So let's commence to looking at this deck. I'm sure you've seen it. We've all seen this one. We're going to start. I even ordered it for you. Are you proud? With the Fool. The Fool, kind of to me, I've always thought of as the uncarved block. Anything is possible. But the Fool does not have any experience, so the Fool might just walk off that cliff because they don't know any better. And interestingly, in the modern decks, we have a dog. In the old decks, that dog is not there. Now we have the Magician. Magician is here using all 4 of the elements. Anything is possible. You have the tools. It's a little bit different in some of the other decks. The High Priestess, she represents balance and intuition, and these are 2 of the columns of Kabbalah. She is the balance of those 2, and I don't really study Kabbalah, so I have to be looking at it to remember the names. The Empress, this is the height of feminine power. I know that's very binary, and I try not to be binary, but we're going with this deck and how it was written. This is feminine sexuality, power, abundance. She's usually pregnant. The Emperor, control. Modern day, this would be a dom, if you know what I mean. Did I do the disclaimer? Okay, this channel is marked 18 and up because I don't think some people would want their children to see, well, how I am, I guess. And we have the Hierophant, which is a holy man. In the older decks, the Pope. So this is the religious dude. This is the person who likes their dogma and all that kind of stuff. We have the Lovers, which is a little bit different than the earlier decks. Of course, I believe that that is Gabriel, who shows up later as well. But the Lovers is just what it is. You can see we have the Tree of Knowledge. There's a lot, and I mean a lot of symbolism worth a lifetime of study on the Rider-Waite Colman Smith deck. The Chariot, moving forward, possibly running out of steam doing it, but here again we have balance with the Sphinxes. We have the moons on the shoulders. Strength, this card is a flipped number. Originally Strength was number 11, and I believe Justice was number 8. But this is frequently shown in old decks as Hercules, Heracles, whatever. This person is holding a lion at bay with their bare hands. The Hermit, who now shows a light, kind of a light of illumination. Obviously, that's what a light does. Oh my God, right? Spiritual illumination, y'all. Think spiritual illumination. This is a person who goes within themselves. The Wheel of Fortune it has the four, I want to say the four horsemen of the apocalypse, but that is totally wrong. This is Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the four apostles, I think, and is generally seen as a good omen. But in some of the older decks, there's more figures around there, but the figures do mean something. Like, this is the cycle of life, y'all. And when we come to Justice, with a sword in one hand and a scale in the other hand, I feel like Justice is pretty obvious. You know, you've got the two columns of balance and the big robes. The Hanged Man. Interestingly enough, a Hanged Man could be, again, a thief in the very old decks. But in this one, I think the Hanged Man, with the illumination around the head, is looking at things from a different perspective, or enlightenment. Death in tarot is rarely death. Death is change. The Death card is change. And also something you should understand is there's going to be a lot of Golden Dawn spiritual symbolism here, because Arthur Edward Waite and Rebecca Coleman Smith were both members of the Golden Dawn, which might be noted is one of the earliest, or the earliest, occult groups, study groups, whatever, that even allowed women, but much less tried to bring women to an equal standing. Of course, our idea of equality for the feminine is a little bit different than it was back then, but I have to give them snaps for trying. That's badass in the time. Temperance, patience, also frequently your spirit guides, but look, again, balance. There's so much in this about balance. You're pouring from one cup to the other, etc. The Devil, you're chained loosely. It's your own chains, but you're chained to some negative behaviors, addictions, the physical realm, etc. The Tower, shit is going to blow open, and it's very scary, and it's usually unexpected, but you know what? Behind the Tower comes the Star, which is hope. Again, with the balance. The Star is pouring, a feminine figure, pouring both water from both land and into water. And frequently, nude feminine figures in the old alchemical ideal was it Anima Mundi? Was the soul, was considered the soul. It was a really very important figure in alchemical studies, and I highly recommend learning something about alchemy and hermetics along with the tarot and Neoplatonism. It'll help you out a lot. The Moon, emotion frequently hidden, often fearful. The Sun, one of the happiest cards in the deck, if not the happiest card in the deck. I mean, you got a carefree child here. There's a bunch of sunflowers, which means you have bounty. You've got just this flag. The sun is shining down on you, blah, 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 blah. Happy, happy, happy. Judgment. I mean, seriously, this could be a legal battle. Everybody's equal in the end. We all die. We're all equal in the end. Try to live a good life. And the World, which is interesting. This is, again, alchemical symbol of, I want to say is that the magnum opus? I want to say she's the Anima Mundi. But you have the four, I call them the four apostles. And I might be wrong, but I know it's Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And they're supposed to represent four elements. I mean, you know, not sure who's water. I think it's the bull. Look it up. I'm here to look at pretty cards. No, I'm kidding. I've read all this stuff, and for some reason now I can't remember it, of course. Now we have the Wands, the Ace of Wands. All four aces are pretty much just handing you out of the sky. This is frequently equated with getting some dick. For real. Frequently. And that is not far off of the meaning, although this was meant more for divination than fortune telling. Divination as in talking to the spirit world. Two of Wands, I think of it as setting your ships out to sail, but you notice that this one is already tied down, so that one's already secure. Waiting for your ships to come in. This is just me, y'all. There's a lot of meanings. There's like 10 meanings per card. And really, with reading cards, think about how many people would have had the time to study tarot as fortune telling, which there is really no evidence of fortune telling in the early days of tarot cards. It would have been done on the pictures. This is frequently called the 1111 card. It is the happy home life. This is probably, I feel like it's also kind of a just married couple, but it's a 4, so whatever the 4, but it's 1111. I can't not see it 1111 because I watched too many people call it 1111, and now I'm like 1111. 5, there's a little bit of a fight going on. Chaos. 6, we are triumphant. Remember, these are numbers of progression. So you can look them up through numerological systems. Crowley had a great one. There's also Chaldean, Gematria, etc. The 7 is fending off attackers or getting a crowd riled up. I've seen that. That can have all sorts of stuff. This is a card I have a little bit of trouble with because in my head it's always the arrows of love, but a lot of times it just means communication is coming and rather swiftly. It means fast. This usually means speed. 9, you're still standing after the battle. You're not quite done. You have to be defensive. 10, you got a lot of frickin' burdens, but the cycle is closing. Page of Wands. Frequently pages are messages. Pages to me are really the non-binary cards of the deck, the original non-binary cards. They were actually, I think, originally equated with squires, but pages are frequently messages of wands, which wands are movement and swift and passion. Passion isn't always sexual. Come on, get out of the gutter. I know I live there. Get out. I'm tired. Knights, movement. Again, a passionate person who might not be thinking before they go woo down the glory path. Not whole. Get out of the gutter. The Queen of Wands. The queens are usually the most balanced of any suit of all the court cards. So they kind of hold the energy of that thing. She kind of holds passion, has a lot of passion, but doesn't let the passion override common sense. And she got a kitty. I know. I told you we're not going to go super in depth into these. King of Wands, this is a flip through. This isn't a teaching. It's just a flip through. I know I'm probably saying too much because I can't shut the hell up. King of Wands is the most control and stable, considered stable. The Ace of Wands, actually, these are thought to be representative of the 5 stabs into Jesus on the cross, but also in the book, The Pictorial Key to the Tarot. Apparently he didn't notice there were 5 streams, he calls them 4. But the Ace of Cups, again, hand coming out of the sky. Good things are coming. The 2 of Cups, this and the 4 of Wands, to me, are the true relationship cards for a romantic relationship, if there is one, but this could still be friendship. You know, there's something healing about this. We got a caduceus there. So, you know, take with it what you will. And they're both wearing their little things on their head. 3 of Cups is really interesting. I see it read a lot now, like it's a third-party situation. Luckily, there are some good readers that while they say third-party situation, they do say that it's not necessarily romantic. But I used to call this fun frivolity and sex. But it's possible because of trust. It's a 3. 3 is protective. 4 of Cups, lamenting what's gone while something's being handed. Whoops. This is just lamenting what's gone. The 5 of Cups, you probably screwed up yourself. There's other opportunities, but you're fixated on how you suck. The 6 can be a soulmate card, and that is because it's memories. So if you think of its memories in, I guess, I don't know what to call the spirit realm. People call it 5D, but I just am not into like pop culture spiritual terms. So I call it the ether quite frequently, in more the beyond material world. A lot of times when you meet someone and you feel like you recognize them even though you've never met them before, that's this card. It's also happy memories. There have to be some good ones. This card is one that is frequently misunderstood. Tarot decks were not always fully illustrated in the pips, and this one is illustrated in the pips. And people think 7 of Cups is a lot of choices, and yes, it is. But this choice is outlined in red for a reason, and this is the mysteries, the occult mysteries, mysteries of the self. 8, you're leaving that shit behind. It can also be a trip somewhere. Literally, you could say it's a trip to the mountains, depending on the other cards around you. All right, this one's really interesting. This is called the Wish card. I've always learned it as the Wish card, but this mofo is smug. He is smug AF. He's getting what he wants, but is it at the expense of others? Again, you need to see what cards are around this one. The 10 of Cards, I mean, it's rainbows, and there's your nice house, there's your lovely children. This is a more settled life, a more settled partnership. Page of Cups, Messages of love. But where's that love coming from? It may not be romantic. It might just be a really good partnership that makes you really comfortable, and intuitively you know it's right. The Knight of Cups is some emotional or intuitive. I'm still working on the court cards as actions. I learned them on people and how they look. Now people, when they read, use it astrologically, but I learned it as physical appearance. There's always more to learn. The more I learn along this life, the more I feel like I do not know. The Queen of Cups, she is the one cup aside from, well, in this deck, she is the only cup that has a lid on it. So she is very emotional, very intuitive. You're not getting anything past the Queen of Cups, but she also is very mild. And that might be considered agreeable. King of Cups is stable love. This is somebody who knows how to love. Again, not always romantic. Ace of Swords, baby. I call it the sword of truth. But a lot of times it means, I'm going to switch hands and lean over because now I'm really into this. A lot of times it means that the truth is about to be shared and you're cutting through the lies. Two of Swords. This is a choice to be made, a blind choice sometimes. You're just like, okay, we're just doing it. Or another way I've heard it being read is that a choice that you've already made, but you still think you have to make the final choice. You know what I mean? But you already kind of know. Okay, so this is the 1, -3. This is heartbreak. This is literally being stabbed in the heart. Interestingly, this card is based on the Solabusca, which is the only older deck with all illustrated pips, and that has some influence on this deck. That card's so pretty. And the Solabusca is a shield. The 4 of Swords, you've laid your sword to rest, you're getting some damn rest. 5 of Swords, you've won the battle, you're feeling pretty good about it, and all your enemies are scooting away, leaving troubled waters behind. Often, I see it as it could be a long distance relationship, a trip across water usually, or far, really far, etc. It's got several meanings, like all of them. This is stealing away, and it's considered kind of a dishonest gain. Again, the cards around it are extremely important. This one I feel like is self-explanatory. You are stuck, you're tied up, you're surrounded by swords, you do not know where to go. But if you notice, this figure is standing on land and water. I mean, I know it's a puddle, but I like to think it's the edge of a river or something like that. So there are choices. It just seems like they're far away and you are jailed from them. Anxiety, or waking up from a bad dream. Things are over. I learned it waking up from a bad dream. But the modern is that is heavy anxiety. Betrayal. Enough said. Betrayal. Shit just went bad. Page of Swords is sometimes a chaotic cutting away of things that maybe it's not time to cut away. The truth will, I don't know if it'll set you free, but boy, is it coming. The keeper of the sword, intellect, the sword of truth, she can be biting and she will cut you off if you screw up. But she's relatively fair, so you actually have to screw up. And again, we have a little bit of that Emperor energy. He is very stable, but he can be self-righteous. Ah, the Ace of Pentacles. Hand out of the sky, something great is coming. This to me, if you're looking at somebody, you're trying to see if someone's cheating, and depending on what's around it, this would be the card of being able to juggle 2 situations at once, almost in perpetuity. Everything is just barely staying afloat. This is an exhausting card. Partnership, collaboration, the Artist card. This might be a little bit greedy, or it might be holding on to what you have. I mean, you know, what if you grew up broke AF, and you have to work really hard because your family's constantly coming to you for a loan for stupid shit. I mean, they may be broke too, but you have like, I don't know, 10 bucks more than they do and they want it, you might hold on to that. And that's not that negative. This is negative. You are literally out in the cold. This poor person is on crutches. This is the Tiny Tim effect, but they're not alone. That's the thing, is things are bad. Things are very bad. You are out in the cold. You are raggedy. You are kind of starving, but you are not completely alone. You feel it, but you aren't completely alone. Generosity This is somebody giving to beggars. Generosity, I mean, be generous in everything, but there's a balance to this card. So some people like to say that this person is getting something and this person is looking at him adoringly and not getting anything. Really, they're both getting stuff from this person because balance. Hard work. Taking a rest from your hard work. Hard work of an artisan. This is actually getting a little bit more recognition for your art. It doesn't necessarily show it as much, but this could be considered like an artist studio where you're doing well enough where you have a studio. Abundance. Frequently a signifier of pregnancy, but she's got a falcon for hunting. It's in front of grapes. So wine and the falcon representing, because falcons were used for hunting, would be game, enough money. This is plenty and abundance related to the Empress. The Ten of Pentacles is the abundant life. I would say because you got old Gramps here, you're probably a little bit later in life. Your children are grown, etc. A couple of dogs, everything is great. This is like fancy ass embroidered stuff. You're in town. It's wealth. That is a comfortable life. Page of Pentacles, usually news of something material. Frequently, if you see these two and you're looking for a job, you're going to be successful. This is material coming in. The other pages are news generally, and you can tell I've got some old school meanings, so I apologize if that is offensive to anyone who doesn't know these, or if you just think I'm wrong. The Queen, this is a person who is not necessarily managing money, but has a good balance of the material world. Like the Queen of Pentacles energy is going to be a person who has that material wealth, but understands that generosity is part of having that wealth and being a custodian, not just of your money, but of those around you with that generosity. Remember, the queens are the most balanced version of each of the pip suits. I like saying the word pip. And we have the king. The king would be the patriarch. I mean, he would be the patriarch of the family. He would be a business person. More like the emperor is like a ruling class. The king would be a business person or a person with a really great mind for business and the material world. And thus ends the first flip through that went way longer than I thought, but I think it's probably under an hour. Oh, I hope. And remember, the tarot is for entertainment purposes only. It can be very helpful in giving you some clarity, but if you need a licensed professional, you need a licensed professional. Don't just leave it up to tarot. That's been your warning. Thank you for choosing to spend your time with me today on Love and Skulls Tarot.